Okay, so this video right here is going to kind of be a part two regarding the last video that I made. It's going to touch on the New York City vaccine mandates and, vaccine mandates nationwide coming, to a place near you, obviously. I am going to be using a couple clips out of YouTube. A couple lawyers being interviewed. So obviously, we're going to use the fair use doctrine, which, as it states, federal law allows citizens to reproduce, distribute, or exhibit portions of copyrighted motion pictures, videotapes, or video discs under certain circumstances without authorization of the copyright holder. This is called fair use and is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 USC 107. All right, so without any further ado, let's go to the first clip. So in this first clip, you're going to see this guy interviewing a lawyer, and I need you to pay particular attention to the questions that he's asking and the responses that the lawyer is giving him. You can look these clips up for yourself on YouTube. Just by looking for the lawyer's name. His name is Alex Lucifero. So all this information is searchable, obviously. It's not, anything that you won't be able to find. So let's start.
Prepare for the start of COVID-19 vaccinations. Some questions remain about your rights when it comes to getting inoculated. Could you lose your job if you refuse to get the shot, for example? Could your boss force you to get the vaccine? Let's break it down. A number of questions. Let's get answers. Alex Lucifero, the man with answers from Sumfaru Tamarkin LLP. Good morning. Good to see you, Alex.
Lucifero.
Good morning, Leslie.
Are there cases where the interests of the greater public trump your individual rights in this scenario?
Well, generally speaking, no, Leslie. Employers in a situation like this are in a careful position that they have to, consider very, very carefully. And the reason why is because no.
Did you hear what he said? He started off by saying, generally speaking, no, it does not trump your rights as an individual. Pay attention.
An employer can't necessarily force an employee to get a vaccine. That is too onerous an obligation to put it on an employee or anyone for that matter. I don't think anybody should be forcing an individual to absolutely get a vaccine and coerce them into getting a vaccine. An employer can't do that in the workplace, even in the most dangerous of workplaces like long-term care homes or hospitals, etc. On the other hand, however, Leslie, and a kind of competing obligation here on the part of an employer is that they do have an obligation to maintain a healthy and a safe workspace. And so the question becomes, well, with those competing obligations, well, you can't force an employee to get a vaccine, but you also have to ensure health and safety in the workplace. What do you do as an employer?
Well, let's give the example of a healthcare or long-term care home scenario where an employee who is, on the front line says, I don't want to get it. I doubt that's going to happen because they would know better than anybody the effects of COVID-19 still. Couldn't it be a same scenario, for example, when you want to send your kids to school and if they're not vaccinated, they send them home? Can't you just apply that here?
Yeah, so there may very well be restrictions on employees that are not going to get a vaccine. And to be clear, Leslie, my personal opinion is that the vaccine is going to be a great idea for most people, but there can very well be medical reasons why somebody shouldn't be receiving a vaccine, perhaps allergies, perhaps other medical reasons. There may also be religious reasons why an employee shouldn't.
Okay. Medical and religious. So if this is all about just simply getting vaccinated for the greater good, explain to me why they would remove religious exemptions. Because as we know, especially in this country, they have went through great lengths to separate church and state, right? Removing prayer from schools done so long ago that if you even mention to your child, like let's say you're in my age range, anywhere from let's say 30 to, no, let's say 35. Well, 30, yeah, probably 30 to 45 and older. You remember praying in school, probably even 20, late 20 somethings might even remember it. Now it's a thing of the past. But now you're telling me that there's no religious exemptions? How come? Did the state say that there's no religious exemptions? And how does the state get to say that if the state and church are separate? Right? Because it's like telling a pastor what they can or can't say in the pulpit, right? They're not supposed to be able to do that. Or do they? Think about it.
Or wouldn't want to receive a vaccine, those people, those employees can't simply be kicked by the wayside. They have to be accommodated in some form or fashion. And again, the employer also has to ensure that it's protecting its other employees.
Yeah.
And so, accommodations or possible restrictions like continuing to work from home or continuing to social distance or continue to wear masks in the workplace, those are potential alternate arrangements where an employee can perhaps not get a vaccine and continue their employment relationship with the company. That's going to require a conversation between an employer and an employee and eventually an agreed upon solution.
Please understand that he is actually talking about private employees, not state workers. Private employees, private companies, not run by government. Okay? And even for those ran by government, I would say the same should go. Because just because you work for a place, when they get to institute a new policy that has, just in the past, few months been on the table, you can't just say, oh, yeah, if you don't do it, I'm going to fire you. No, we're not talking about sexual harassment suits or violence in the workplace. No, you're talking about something on a completely different level. Think about it.
And again, these are important conversations that employers and employees are going to be having down the road for the next several months, if not year.
What if working from home doesn't work and you've got a case where somebody refuses to get it and then the person in the next cubby hole basically is immunocompromised and says, I can't sit next to that person because they may put me at risk?
Yeah, that's a fair point. And you can't work from home if you're working on an assembly line.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's where other possible solutions have to come into play. So perhaps employees that cannot be vaccinated for whatever reason or choose not to be vaccinated, have to be placed in another separate area of the office or of the or of the manufacturing plant or wherever the workplace is. And again, other accommodations or restrictions can be imposed. Mask wearing, social distancing, etc. Those solutions are going to have to be found. Employers can't necessarily.
Right? Because if the mask wearing been protecting us all this time, shouldn't it still be protecting us? I mean, everybody that's here now was here last year, right? Everybody that they're requiring to get this vaccine was here last year. So we're the ones that made it through. And we weren't vaccinated, but we didn't die. So shouldn't it still be optional to say, okay, yeah, I will? Or, you know what? Probably stay with the mask if I have to be on a job, Options, choices. Let's continue.
Let an employee go, terminate an employee's employment simply because, for whatever reason, they've decided not to vaccinate it. Again, there may be a legitimate reason why an employee can't be vaccinated, and that has to be accommodated.
All right, I think we covered it all. Alex Lucifero, the man with answers. Appreciate it, Alex, for your time.
Thanks for having me, Leslie.
Okay, so now we're going to go to the next clip, and this guy, another lawyer. He's actually a partner. Where is it? Oh, I didn't show the last one. Let me scroll down so you can see. Where is it? Okay. This was loaded. You can see right here. August 25th, 2021. Okay. So, let's listen to what he has to say. Let's go.
With the Delta variant circulating and cases rising, the pressure is on to vaccinate. And the list of companies choosing to mandate vaccines for staff seems to be growing every day, raising concerns and questions about workers' rights. Employment lawyer Lior Samfiru joins us now for another segment of Work What's Next. Good morning, Lior. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning, Candace.
So we have the MLSC.
Now, look, just take a look at where this guy's actually from. You see at the bottom of his screen? Toronto. Now, as we know, Canada has some of the more tough restrictions, right? They have had some of the more tough restrictions, right? When it comes to COVID-19. I mean, I have people in Canada, and I know they've told me how strict things have been. So, I implore you, listen to this guy and listen to what he has to say and the things that he presents. I'll talk about it more when he gets there, but I want you to pay attention to what he's saying because it's key to the point that I want to make.
The TTC and even some banks, just to name a few, coming out with vaccine mandates. Some would say even ultimatums for staff. It kind of feels like we're in uncharted waters here when it comes to vaccine mandating in the workplace.
That is correct.
And with these workplaces figuring things out as they go. Are you concerned by all of this?
Well, I think a lot of these employers that are doing this, you mentioned just a few, are under the assumption that this is legal, that this is something that they can do. But there are some significant concerns with the legality of imposing vaccines. In most cases, for private enterprises, it's still not legal. It could be a human rights violation to impose a vaccine. And a lot of these employers are potentially doing it simply thinking, well, we're going to do it regardless of the legal liability. But there is that liability. Another liability that these employers will have is if they do let employees go because they did not get vaccinated, they'll have to pay them severance, potentially as much as 2 years.
Now, he was about to say 2 years severance. Now, the letter that I got from Mount Sinai and the union says that if you choose not to get vaccinated, not only will they terminate you, right? There will be no severance, right? You will not be able to apply for unemployment, right? They have also removed the religious exemption, right? That's 3 things. Also, your insurance will be cut immediately, right? So that means you have to pay for COBRA out of pocket. And your 401k will also be jeopardized. Let's continue. And if anybody in that union had any balls whatsoever, they would have